Hello, everybody. This is my video on advice for young entrepreneurs. If you are just getting started with your own business, if you are trying to escape the 9 to 5, I have begun this process for about the last 2, maybe 3 years, and I feel like I've learned a lot in this little fraction of the long journey that I'm about to go on. It's very exciting, and I'm really wanting to share this information with you guys because this is what I wish I knew 2 years ago. So let's just jump into it. So the first piece of advice that I want to share with you guys, I have 3 pieces for you. And the first one has to do with this graph. And so it's going to require a lot of patience in the beginning, because in the beginning of you doing your small business pursuits, you doing your entrepreneurial endeavors, you aren't going to see much results for your effort. It's going to be a lot of effort and no results. And I found that over time, you start to see stuff coming up, and then there's this dip right here. When you experience this dip, it is so tempting to give up. This is where the most limiting beliefs come in. You think, should I even do it? Is there safety in this? Is there financial security? The finances are probably the most important piece in this stage right here, because it's going to be a check of your pride. Okay. You're going to have to, it's going to be humbling. You're going to have to swallow your pride, humble your ego, diminish it a little bit, because you're not going to be making much money in the beginning. You're probably going to be having to work a part-time job or do this on the side of the full-time job that you already have. And so you might be investing in your business. So you're going to be broke. Okay. Just don't call yourself poor, because that has a lot more assumptions and judgments in it, right? We're just low on money. We're not poor. We're rich in knowledge and skills and other things like that. And so when you're in this dip, just stay patient and know that your gifts are to come, because once you get a good rhythm, once you get your small business down, your entrepreneurial endeavors to a science, you're going to see a lot of results. And I'm not saying there's not going to be bumps in the road once you get later on in your career, because there's always going to be challenges over there. But just know that there is going to be a time frame where you're not making much money, you want to give up, and you're not seeing many results. Okay. And so just stay consistent and stay patient, and know that the monetary gifts are on their way. Okay. And so that's my first piece of advice: staying patient with the finances and the results of your business. Now, my second piece of advice is this: you are going to try a lot of different things in doing your own business, seeing what works, and there's going to be a lot of failures, right? Failures has a pretty negative connotation to it. And so you're going to do things and you're going to see an outcome. Even not committing action, you're going to have an outcome. And so taking this date of outcome, it's like, okay, it's going to be impossible to try everything in your lifetime. Okay. Whatever your end goal is, you could get there, because there is so many different things you could try. Never tell yourself that I've tried everything, because that's just you giving up. And so this diagram right here, basically the outside of this circle is where you are today. Okay. This is where you are today. All right. Now, if you've watched my other videos, maybe you are already familiar with this concept. You haven't watched my videos, but this graph right here has to do with Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this centerpiece right here is the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That is self-actualization. Some might call this enlightenment. This is your ideal self. This is where you're headed, okay? Is the centerpiece. And we could apply this to our business and stuff like that, and what kind of entrepreneurs we want to be. And so the outside of the circle is where you are today. Now, in terms of our journey of discovering who we truly are and our place in the world, it's not always going to be a straight pathway to the center. A lot of the times it's going to look like this. Something's working, something's not, and then you change course a little bit. You shouldn't be upset with these curves in here, though. These curves are just a readjustment. These curves are, oh, this thing that I thought was working wasn't working, or I was actually going a little off track when I thought I was going in the right direction. And so obviously the goal here is to be as straightforward as possible, but be accepting that it's not always going to be a ton of progress early on. It's going to look like this. Now, the main thing I want to stress here is that you don't want to be taking steps back from where you are today. Okay. That's a no-no. Don't go out there. All right. Your goal here is to be minimizing this circle here. You're trying to, that's a square. Oh, well. You're trying to go, all you're trying to do is shrink this circle. So get closer and closer in to where you're at today. Maybe you had to overcome some bad habit. Maybe you implemented something new into your routine that was beneficial for you. Maybe you had some kind of new connection that you wanted to keep up with. Keep the momentum going inward. The one thing you cannot do is go back to where you are, to where you were, okay? So this is my second piece of advice right there. Now, my final piece of advice does not require any graphs. It is nothing too complicated or abstract that I need to show you with a diagram. It is simply this. Know that if you do want to be a successful entrepreneur, if you do want to succeed in business, if you want to make something great and influence people, you can't do this alone. A big mistake I made early on in my career of being an entrepreneur is that I thought I had to work in isolation. I thought I had to push other people away to focus on writing my book, to focus on creating a business plan, to do all these other things when I was just kicking myself in the leg. And it wasn't productive for me to shut everybody out, because that cut off access to mentors, to people that have done exactly what I want to do and that could give me good advice or guidance. That has also cut me off to a network. Nobody has accomplished great things on their own throughout history. It requires a team effort. It requires a nation. It requires a group of people coming together to make something great. And so if you do want to create your own business, if you do want to be a successful entrepreneur, tap into a network, create meaningful connections. And another thing too is this doesn't, the only way you can go wrong isn't just shutting people out. When I say work on your network, work on your connections, that also means not spending time with the people that are going to diminish your success. Do not spend time with people that don't have your best interests in mind. If you're hanging out with friends and they're not on their grind, they're not trying to get the bag, if they don't value you trying to get the bag and they're trying to get you to stay up late and just fuck around and do bullshit, you don't need them. You could love them from a distance. You could spend time with them occasionally. You don't have to be salty and say, get out of my life, I'm trying to be successful. No, it's not like that. Just be tactical about who you spend your time with, because it is going to correlate to how much success you see in the future. I hope you found this video helpful. I wish I heard this 2 years ago in my career, and thank you guys for watching my video.